She didn't know someone was inside the car. She thought it was just an empty black car parked on the side of the road. The windows were so dark, almost like a mirror. She was sweating from walking under the hot sun, her blouse sticking to her back, her shoulders tired from carrying a basket full of vegetables she hadn't even sold. Her cheap bra was poking her ribs again. She looked around quickly, saw no one watching, and stepped closer to the car. Using the dark glass like a mirror, she quickly reached under her shirt and adjusted her bra. She winced as she tried to fix it through her blouse, muttering, "Just stay still, will you?" That's when the man inside the car leaned forward from behind the tinted glass. His eyes had been on her the entire time. He was young, handsome, and dressed like someone out of a magazine. His wristwatch alone could probably buy her entire village. He had just pulled up, waiting for his driver to return from grabbing lunch. He had been scrolling through emails when he looked up and saw her. This poor girl, sweating and struggling, using his expensive car window as a mirror to fix her bra. And instead of being annoyed or angry like most rich people would be, he smiled. His heart skipped. Who was this girl? But before he could open the door and say something, she disappeared into the crowd, and he didn't even know her name. Now, let's rewind. Just 2 days before this moment, that same poor girl, whose name was Lily, was crying on the side of the road. She sat on a stone by the local market, holding her mother's broken slippers in her hand. Her feet were covered in dust. She had walked barefoot all the way from their tiny house just to get to the market and try to sell a few onions and tomatoes. But the market women who sold bigger, fresher vegetables pushed her aside like she didn't matter. "Go home, Lily. No one's buying your shriveled onions." One of them mocked. She didn't reply. She just looked down, her throat burning from holding back tears. Her mother had been sick for weeks. Her father had disappeared years ago. Her younger brother, Timmy, was coughing nonstop, but she couldn't even afford medicine. The little she had was used to buy the basket of vegetables she carried that day, and no one bought even one. She stood up, her legs shaking, and began to walk back home. She walked past cars, past people laughing and buying roasted corn and cold drinks. She could feel the hot eyes of strangers on her. Her blouse clung to her chest, and her bra kept shifting to the side. It was too small now. She had outgrown it, but it was the only one she had. She kept tugging it silently, trying not to be seen. But that was before the moment she stopped beside the black car, before he saw her, before her life started to change in the most unbelievable way. Her home was at the very edge of the village, a tiny room made from clay and old wood, with a roof that leaked every time it rained. She found her mother lying on a mat, sweat covering her face. Timmy was asleep in the corner, curled up like a puppy. "Did you sell anything?" her mother asked weakly. Lily shook her head. "Not today, Mama." Her mother tried to smile, but it looked more like pain. "It's okay. Tomorrow." But Lily was tired of hearing tomorrow. Later that night, after making watery porridge from the last spoon of cornmeal, she lay awake. Her eyes were open, staring at the ceiling, wondering what would happen to them if she couldn't find a way to make money. She thought about all the things people told her growing up. "You're too quiet. You're too poor. You're too plain." No one ever said anything good, not even once. But Lily had a secret, a dream. She wanted to be more than a poor girl from a forgotten village. She wanted to help her mother walk again. She wanted Timmy to go to school like other children. She wanted to laugh and wear clean clothes and eat something other than dry porridge. She just didn't know how. The next morning, she woke up early. She washed her face with cold water from a rusty bucket and wore her cleanest dress, a faded yellow one with a tiny rip on the side. She carried the same basket of vegetables. This time, she took a different route to the market, hoping she'd meet new customers. She walked past the bus station, past the car wash where boys whistled and made jokes. She didn't smile. She didn't have the strength. Her mind was filled with worry. At the marketplace, things went badly again. Her tomatoes rolled into the gutter when someone accidentally hit her basket. No one helped. Some laughed. She picked them up in silence. It was after this that she decided to go home, tired and defeated. That was when the most unexpected thing happened. As she passed by the shopping plaza, She saw the shiny black car parked quietly by the side. No one was inside, she thought. The tinted windows looked almost like black glass. Her bra was hurting again. The strap had twisted and was cutting into her shoulder. Her fingers trembled as she pulled her blouse away from her chest and tried to fix it. She looked left and right. No one seemed to notice. She leaned closer to the car window and then adjusted her bra. She couldn't see inside, but he could see her. His name was Adrian, and he had never seen anything or anyone like her. He was born into wealth, had everything a person could dream of: cars, clothes, connections. But he didn't trust people. They always wanted something. His smile was fake in most pictures. His friends were mostly after favors. That was why he liked to sit in the car sometimes and just watch. Watch real life. Watch people who didn't wear masks. When Lily walked up and used his car window like a mirror, adjusting her bra without knowing anyone could see, he was stunned. She wasn't pretending. She wasn't trying to impress. She was just real and beautiful. He wanted to talk to her, but by the time he opened the door, she was gone. He looked left, then right. Nowhere. Gone like wind. He looked at his driver, who had just returned. "Did you see that girl?" Adrian asked. "What girl, sir?" "The one who was just standing here, holding a basket." The driver shrugged. Adrian sat back in his seat. He didn't know her name. He didn't know where she came from. But one thing was clear. He had to find her, and that was the beginning of something big. But while Adrian was sitting in his fancy car thinking about her, Lily was walking home, tired, sweaty, and unaware that someone, somewhere, had just fallen in love with her without even knowing her name. And then, as she stepped into the tiny compound, her mother began coughing badly. Blood came out this time. Lily froze. "Mama." She dropped the basket and ran to her mother, screaming for help. And that was the moment everything changed again. "Mama, wake up." Lily cried, shaking her mother's shoulders. But her mother's eyes were rolling back. Her lips trembled. Her breath sounded like something was stuck in her throat. Timmy woke up in the corner, rubbing his sleepy eyes. "What's wrong with Mama?" Lily didn't answer. She couldn't. Panic took over. She ran out of the room screaming for help. Neighbors began to gather. Someone rushed to get the local herbal healer. But Lily knew herbs wouldn't be enough this time. Her mother needed a real hospital. But how? She had no money. Not even enough for transport, let alone treatment. That's when something wild happened. A woman who lived 2 houses away, known for always gossiping and borrowing salt, stepped out and said, "There's a charity bus go to the city hospital right now. They help poor people for free sometimes. But you have to go now. It doesn't wait." Lily didn't even think. She ran back inside, wrapped her mother in the old bedsheet, and carried her with trembling arms. She screamed at Timmy to grab a small bag and follow her. By the time they reached the road, the charity bus was already pulling away. "Wait!" Lily screamed. "Please, wait!" She ran barefoot, her legs burning, her eyes full of tears. "Please stop. My mother is dying." The driver heard her. He slowed down just enough. People inside the bus shouted, "Let her in! Let her in!" The door opened. A man stepped out and helped her carry her mother inside. Timmy followed quietly, holding Lily's bag tightly. His eyes were wide with fear. The bus began to move again, heading to the city hospital. Inside, people looked at Lily with pity. Some offered her water. One woman gave her a packet of biscuits for Timmy. Lily held her mother's hand the whole way. An hour later, they reached the hospital. It was big, shiny, and full of people in white coats and blue scrubs. The nurse at the front desk looked them over and said, "She's too weak. You should have brought her earlier. Fill out this form and wait over there." I can't write," Lily whispered. The nurse looked at her for a moment, then sighed. "Sit down. I'll do it for you." They were placed in a waiting room. The fan made loud creaking sounds. Timmy fell asleep again, leaning on Lily's arm. Lily's eyes stayed on her mother, who was lying across 2 chairs, her chest rising and falling slowly. She prayed, "Please, God, don't take her." Please, I'll do anything. 3 hours passed before a doctor finally came out. She'll need blood tests, x-rays, and medicine, he said. Do you have anyone who can help you pay? Lily shook her head. The doctor looked at her seriously. Then you must go to the social support office. Maybe they can help. And just like that, Lily was running from one office to another, trying to fill papers, answer questions, and explain things she didn't understand. People gave her complicated forms. Some shouted at her. Some ignored her completely. Meanwhile, her mother lay on a hospital bed, breathing like each breath might be the last. By evening, the hospital agreed to start treatment with help from a charity fund, but the medicine was delayed. The doctor needed a signature from a sponsor. The sponsor was out of town. Lily was told to come back tomorrow. She went back to the ward and sat by her mother's bed. She whispered softly, "Please don't leave me, Mama. I need you. Timmy needs you." Her mother opened her eyes briefly and whispered, "I'm proud of you, my brave girl." Then her eyes closed again. Lily stayed awake all night. By morning, her back ached from sitting on the cold floor. Timmy was hungry again, and Lily had no money left. She walked outside, hoping to find someone to beg from. Maybe she could wash someone's car for change. That's when she saw it, that same shiny black car, parked right outside the hospital gate. Her heart skipped. It couldn't be the same car, could it? She moved closer. It was the same car. She could tell by the little scratch near the back tire. She looked into the window again, hoping it was empty, but before she could turn away, the door opened, and there he was, Adrian, wearing sunglasses, looking like someone who belonged in a movie. He took off his glasses slowly. His eyes locked on hers. "You," he said. Lily froze. "You were the girl from the other day," he added softly. "By the plaza." Lily didn't know what to say. She lowered her eyes, feeling embarrassed. I didn't know someone was inside the car," she mumbled. "I'm sorry." Adrian smiled. No, you don't understand. I've been trying to find you." Lily blinked. "Me?" "Yes, you. I wanted to know your name." She hesitated. "Lily, that's a beautiful name." She didn't reply. "What are you doing here?" he asked gently. She looked down at her feet, then whispered, "My mother's sick. She's inside. We don't have money. The hospital said they might help, but now they're delaying everything." Adrian's face changed. He looked serious now. "Take me to her." Lily blinked. "What?" "Take me to your mother. Now." She didn't know why she listened. She didn't know who he was, or why he cared. But something in his voice made her trust him. She led him inside the hospital, past the tired nurses and cold hallways, into the small ward where her mother lay. Adrian looked at the woman on the bed. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. "Hello? Dr. Benson? I need a private room and full care for a patient." "Yes, now. I'm sending you her details." Lily stood there, shocked. He was calling doctors. He was giving orders. Soon, nurses came rushing in. Her mother was moved to a better room. Machines were rolled in. The same doctors who had ignored Lily before were now standing straight, speaking politely. And just like that, her mother was being taken care of. Lily couldn't believe it. She turned to Adrian, tears in her eyes. "Why are you helping me?" Adrian smiled softly. "Because I believe the most beautiful people are the ones who don't even know they are." Before Lily could reply, a loud crash echoed down the hallway. A nurse came running in, panic on her face. "We need the doctor now. Her pulse just dropped. She's not breathing." Lily gasped and ran toward the room. Her heart was racing. Her mother's life was slipping away again, and even with help, it might not be enough. Lily burst into the room, her heart pounding like a drum. Nurses surrounded the bed, moving fast, pushing buttons on machines, and yelling out numbers Lily didn't understand. "BP is crashing." "She's coding." "Where's Dr. Benson?" Adrian was already on the phone again. "Where's the emergency team?" "Get them in now." Lily pushed through the crowd. "Mama, please, don't go." One nurse held her back. "You have to wait outside, please." "No, I can't leave her. she screamed, her voice breaking. The machines let out a long, terrifying sound. Beep. Lily froze. No, no, please, God, don't do this. Don't take her. Then suddenly, a new doctor rushed in, young, confident, and moving with lightning speed. Step back, he ordered. She still has a chance. He pulled the defibrillator pads from a cart. Clear. Thump. Her mother's body jumped. No pulse. Again. Thump. Still nothing. Tears streamed down Lily's cheeks. She dropped to her knees, shaking. Again. Thump. A pause. Then beep, beep, beep. The room filled with a soft rhythm. The sound of life returning. The nurse looked up. She's stabilizing. Everyone let out a breath. Lily collapsed into Adrian's arms, sobbing. She's alive. He held her gently. Yes, she is. It was the first time someone held Lily when she cried. For a few minutes, the world stood still. Later that day, after her mother was settled and resting, Adrian took Lily and Timmy to the hospital cafeteria. He ordered food for both of them, real food, not just biscuits or porridge, rice, chicken, and cold drinks. Timmy's eyes lit up like it was Christmas. He began eating fast, stuffing his cheeks. Adrian chuckled. You don't have to rush, little man. There's more if you want. Timmy grinned shyly, his mouth full. Lily looked at her plate. We haven't eaten like this in months. Adrian nodded slowly. I can see that. She looked at him. Why are you being so kind? He leaned back. You want the truth? She nodded. Because the moment I saw you, I saw someone strong. Someone real. You weren't trying to impress anyone. You didn't care if someone was watching. You were just surviving. You didn't know I was behind that window, and yet you became the most unforgettable part of my week. Lily looked down. Her face felt warm. You don't even know me, she whispered. Not yet, Adrian replied. But I want to. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Timmy broke the silence. Can we take some food to Mama? Adrian smiled. Of course. They packed some food and returned to the room. Her mother was awake, weak but smiling when she saw them. Lily sat beside her, holding her hand again. The next few days passed like a dream. Doctors checked on her mother often now. Nurses smiled when they saw Lily and Timmy. Her mother slowly began to improve. She could sit up for a few minutes, and the coughing was less. Adrian visited every day. Sometimes he brought books for Timmy. Sometimes he brought fruits and medicine. Sometimes he just sat and talked to Lily in the hospital garden, asking about her childhood, her dreams, and her fears. He never laughed at her answers. He listened. One afternoon, he turned to her and asked, if you could do anything in the world, what would it be? Lily didn't even have to think. Start a little food shop, she said. Something small where I can cook and sell. I'm good at cooking. My mom taught me. I just never had the money for pots and ingredients. Adrian smiled. That's a good dream. She shook her head. It's silly. No, he said firmly. It's not. He looked at her, his eyes serious. You shouldn't feel small just because life hasn't been fair. You survived things most people couldn't. Lily smiled for the first time in days. A real smile. But just as things started to feel good, something terrible happened. One night, when Adrian didn't show up at his usual time, Lily waited longer than usual. Maybe traffic, she thought. Then a nurse came running. There's a group of men outside asking for someone named Lily, she said. They're shouting. Do you know them? Lily's heart skipped. Outside the hospital gate, a small crowd had gathered. 3 angry men stood pointing toward the building, yelling. That's the girl who scammed a rich man. She bewitched him with bush magic. She's trying to trap him and steal his money. People were whispering, watching, some already taking out their phones to record. Lily was confused. What are they talking about? One of the men stepped forward, his eyes full of hate. You poor village rat. You think we don't know what you're doing? You're making our boss look like a fool. Boss, she asked. The man pointed. Mr. Adrian. We work for him. And we know what you're after. Money. That's all girls like you want. Lily stood frozen. Inside the hospital, nurses began murmuring. Visitors turned to stare. The whispers grew. Did she really trick a millionaire? She looks innocent. But maybe it's all an act. The men shouted louder. We're taking you back to your village. You don't belong here. Then suddenly, Adrian's voice thundered from behind him. Enough! He pushed through the crowd, his face dark with anger. What are you doing? He barked at the men. Sir, one of them stammered. We just wanted to protect you. She's a nobody. Adrian stepped closer. She is more than somebody. She is under my protection. And if any of you speak about her like that again, you're fired. The men went silent. Adrian turned to Lily. Her eyes were full of tears. Not because she was scared, but because, for the first time in her life, someone defended her. Someone stood up for her. Adrian took her hand gently. Come on, let's go inside. As they walked back through the crowd, whispers turned into gasps. And just when they reached the hospital steps, a black SUV pulled up. The door opened, and a woman stepped out. Tall, elegant, wearing high heels and a cold, sharp smile. She looked at Adrian, then at Lily, and said, So this is the village girl you left our engagement dinner for? Lily's world stopped spinning. Lily froze. Engagement dinner? She looked at Adrian, confused, her heart twisting inside her chest. His eyes widened for a split second, just long enough to confirm what she feared. The woman wasn't lying. The crowd had begun to quiet, suddenly grew noisy again. She's his fiancée? What's going on? Lily stepped back, feeling like the ground had been pulled out from under her. You're engaged? She asked softly, her voice barely louder than a whisper. Adrian stepped forward quickly. Lily, wait, let me explain. But the woman didn't wait. She walked up, her heels clicking like gunshots on the pavement. She looked Lily up and down, her face twisted with disgust. So this is the poor little peasant you've been throwing money at, she said, arms crossed. Enough, Olivia, Adrian snapped. You don't get to talk to her like that. Olivia raised an eyebrow. I don't? Because last time I checked, we were planning our wedding, and you vanished halfway through dinner. I had to explain to my father why his future son-in-law walked out, without a word. And now I find out it's because you've been playing nurse to some roadside beggar girl. Gasps echoed in the crowd. Lily's face turned red with shame. But Adrian didn't flinch. He turned toward Olivia, his voice calm but firm. I never loved you, Olivia. Our parents arranged that dinner. It was a business move, not a love story. Olivia blinked. What did you just say? You heard me, Adrian said. I don't owe you anything. And I'm not going to spend my life pretending just to make rich families happy. She laughed bitterly. So you'd rather ruin your reputation over this charity case? Lily flinched. Adrian looked at her, and in that moment, everything around him seemed to disappear. I don't care about reputations, he said. I care about people who are real. And Lily, she's more real than anyone I've ever met. Lily stared at him, her heart beating fast, confused and overwhelmed. Everything felt like a dream, or maybe a nightmare. Olivia shook her head in disbelief. You'll regret this, Adrian. People like her only want one thing. Adrian raised an eyebrow. And what exactly do you want, Olivia? That shut her up. The crowd went silent. Olivia turned without another word, climbed into her black SUV, and slammed the door shut. The car sped off, leaving a cloud of dust behind. Adrian turned back to Lily. I wanted to tell you, but I didn't know how. It wasn't love. It was something my family pressured me into. I walked away before anything was signed. You have to believe me. Lily didn't say anything. She looked at him, really looked at him. She saw honesty in his eyes. Pain, regret, and something else she didn't know how to name. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Then don't say anything, Adrian replied softly. Just let me prove that I'm not like them. Lily nodded slowly. They walked back into the hospital in silence. Later that night, as Lily sat beside her mother, she replayed the entire day in her mind. Was it true? Could someone like him really choose someone like her? Her mother stirred in the bed. Lily, she whispered, weak but awake. Lily quickly leaned close. Yes, Mama. That man, the one who comes every day. He loves you. Lily smiled sadly. Maybe not. He does, her mother said again. I've seen the way he looks at you, like you're the only person in the world. Lily's heart warmed. She stayed beside her mother until she drifted back to sleep. The next morning, Adrian showed up again, this time with something strange in his hands, a white envelope and a shopping bag. What's this? Lily asked. Adrian smiled. A little gift. You've been wearing the same clothes every day. I thought maybe like something new. Lily looked at the bag, speechless. She didn't even know how to say thank you. And this, he said, handing her the envelope, is a small loan. You said you want to start a food shop. This should help get you started. No strings attached. Lily opened the envelope and gasped. Inside was money. So much money. No, I can't take this, she whispered. Yes, you can, Adrian said gently. I'm not giving it because I think you need charity. I'm giving it because I believe in you. Lily stared at him, tears welling up in her eyes. Adrian reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. And I found you a little shop space not far from here. It's small but perfect for a start. You can visit at any time. The landlord agreed to give you 3 months rent-free. Lily's jaw dropped. You did all this for me? Adrian nodded. You spent your whole life doing everything for others. Maybe it's time someone did something for you. She hugged him, tight, for the first time, without fear or shame. I don't know what to say, she whispered again. Then just promise me one thing, Adrian said softly. What? Promise me you won't let anyone tell you that you're less than what you are. Lily nodded, her voice shaky. I promise. The next day, Lily visited the shop. It was tiny but perfect, painted yellow with a little wooden door. She stood there for a while, imagining the future, people lining up, Timmy helping out, her mother sitting by the window with a smile on her face. Hope bloomed in her chest. She could see it now. A life, a real one. But that night, as she returned to the hospital full of joy, the hospital bed was empty. Her mother was gone. Lily dropped the shopping bag. Where's my mother? She cried. The nurse looked pale. She was taken to another ward. Why? What happened? But before the nurse could speak, a doctor ran in. His face panicked. We have a problem, he said. Adrian appeared behind Lily. What is it? He asked. The doctor looked from Adrian to Lily. Someone pretending to be her family came and took her mother out of the ward. They said they were transferring her to a private clinic. Lily's eyes widened. What? Who took her? We don't know. We're checking the security footage now. Adrian's face darkened. Call the police. Now. And Lily just stood there, completely frozen, as the world around her started to fall apart again. Lily's legs felt like jelly. Her mouth went dry. She grabbed the doctor's arm, her voice shaking. What do you mean someone took my mother? Who would do that? The doctor looked nervous. They signed her out with documents. They even had ID. Said they were from a private clinic. Everything looked official. Adrian stepped in, his tone sharp. Did you verify the documents? The doctor looked away. We were short-staffed last night. It was chaotic. Adrian didn't wait. He turned to his assistant who had just arrived. I want every hospital and clinic in the city called now. Find out if she was really transferred. Pull the CCTV footage too. Yes, sir, the assistant said and rushed off. Lily turned to the nurse. She was weak. She couldn't even walk on her own. How did they move her? The nurse bit her lip. They brought a wheelchair and an ambulance. Said it was all arranged already. Tears rushed to Lily's eyes. Her mother, gone. Taken by strangers pretending to help. But who would do such a thing? Why? Then a sick thought hit her. What if they're organ traffickers? She whispered, her voice trembling. Adrian's jaw clenched. They won't get far. Not on my watch. They rushed to the security room, where grainy footage played on a small monitor. The image showed a woman in a white coat and a man in a cap rolling Lily's mother out on a wheelchair. A van waited just outside the gate. The license plate was visible. Adrian pulled out his phone. I know someone in the police traffic unit. Lily watched the screen with her hands over her mouth. Her heart thudded so loudly it echoed in her ears. Within 30 minutes, Adrian had tracked a van. It was headed to a rundown part of the city, an area known for shady deals and abandoned buildings. Adrian turned to Lily. I'm going there now. I'll bring her back. No, Lily said. I'm coming with you. He hesitated. I have to, she said firmly. She's my mother. Adrian nodded. Okay, let's go. They got into his car. Timmy was left in the care of a nurse Lily trusted. As the city lights zipped by, Lily stared out the window in silence, her fingers digging into her skirt. She had already lost so much. She couldn't lose her mother too. They reached the address. A dusty warehouse stood behind a rusted gate. No sign of movement. Adrian parked quietly. I'm calling the police, he said. No time, Lily said and stepped out. Before he could stop her, she ran to the side of the building and peeked through a broken window. Inside, she saw a small bed, and on it, her mother, still unconscious, tubes in her arms. Beside her stood a man talking on the phone, pacing. She's in there, Lily whispered. Adrian joined her, glancing in. We're getting her out now, he said. Suddenly, the man inside turned toward the window. He saw them and started shouting. Hey, we've been spotted. Another man appeared. He grabbed a metal rod. Lily backed up. Adrian rushed to the front gate and kicked it open. The two men ran to stop them, but Adrian didn't hesitate. He swung the gate hard and knocked them over. The other lunged at Lily, but she ducked and screamed as Adrian tackled him from behind. While they fought, Lily ran inside and threw herself at her mother. Mama, wake up. Her mother didn't move. She was breathing, but barely. She yanked out the tube, grabbed a blanket, and tried to pull her mother up. Outside, police sirens wailed. The men tried to escape, but were caught at the gate. Adrian rushed back in and helped Lily carry her mother to the car, just as the police stormed in and arrested the fake medical team. Inside the car, Lily held her mother tightly, whispering, It's okay now, Mama. You're safe. I've got you. Adrian drove like lightning, returning her mother to hospital where Rayall doctors rushed her back into intensive care. Hours passed. Lily sat outside the ICU, shivering. Adrian brought her tea. They said she's stable. Weak, but she'll recover. Lily looked up at him with tears in her eyes. You saved her. Adrian sat beside her. You saved her first. They sat in silence for a while, watching the sun rise through the hospital window. Then Lily said softly, Why would anyone do that? Take her like that? Adrian frowned. I don't think it was random. Someone planned that. You think someone sent them? I don't know yet, he said, but I have people looking into it. Lily nodded, but deep inside she knew, she could feel it in her bones. This wasn't just about money or organs. This was personal. And just as she started to relax, to breathe again, her phone rang, a number she didn't recognize. She answered with shaky fingers. A voice, cold, female, familiar, spoke on the other end. I told you, girls like you don't belong in our world. Click. The line went dead. Lily's eyes widened. She knew that voice. It was Olivia. And now Lily knew this wasn't over. It was just beginning. Lily stared at the phone in her hand, her fingers trembling. I told you, girls like you don't belong in our world. Olivia. Her cold voice echoed in Lily's mind like thunder. She looked up slowly at Adrian, who was sitting beside her, scrolling through his phone. Adrian, she whispered. He glanced at her. Yeah. She called me. He put his phone down. Who? Olivia. His face hardened instantly. She said this was her doing. Adrian stood up. She what? Lily nodded. She's the one who sent those people. She tried to scare me. She said I don't belong. Adrian clenched his fists. That's it. I'm pressing charges. But she's powerful, right? Lily asked. Won't you get away with it? Adrian looked her straight in the eyes. Not this time. She crossed the line. No matter how rich your family is, no one gets to kidnap your mother and walk free. He pulled out his phone again, made a quick call, and said, I want a full investigation on Olivia Grayson. Everything. Who she's called, where she's been. Pull the phone records, pull the camera footage. I don't care how long it takes. Then he turned to Lily and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. I'm so sorry. Lily felt a rush of emotion, fear, anger, exhaustion, but also something stronger. Strength. She had faced humiliation, hunger, sickness, danger, and now this, but she was still standing. And she wasn't going to let anyone push her down again. Adrian's team moved fast. By the next morning, his lawyer had already contacted the authorities, and police officers came to the hospital to take Lily's statement. They showed her photographs of the two fake medical workers. Lily confirmed their faces. Meanwhile, her mother was slowly recovering. She was moved from ICU to a regular ward. Her face looked brighter. Her cough wasn't as bad. Mama, Lily said as she fed her soft yam porridge, you're safe now. Her mother smiled weakly. Because of you. Timmy sat on the bed beside her, holding a drawing he made. It was a crayon picture of a food shop with Lily's Kitchen written in big, colorful letters. She looked at him, touched. Is this for me? He nodded proudly. It's your dream. Lily hugged him. And that night, she made a decision. She would open a food shop. No more waiting. No more fear. No more being afraid of the world. The next morning, Adrian drove her to the shop space he had secured. It was on a corner street with lots of foot traffic, right beside a bus stop. It had a small counter, an old fan, and a tiny back room for storage. It's not fancy, Adrian said, but with some paint, pots, and that magic you call cooking, it could be something amazing. Lily walked around, touching the wooden counters, imagining where the pots would go, where the plates would be, how it would smell of spices and stew and warm rice. She turned to him, her eyes glowing. It's perfect. They got to work immediately. Adrian hired a painter. Lily picked the colors, bright green and orange. She cleaned every corner herself, scrubbing until her arms ached. Adrian bought her a gas cooker, a second-hand fridge, plates, and pots. Within a week, the place was ready. A bright wooden sign hung above the shop. Lily's Kitchen. Opening day arrived. Lily wore her cleanest dress. Her hair was tied up neatly. Her hands trembled as she served her first plate of jollof rice to a woman who smiled and said, "It smells so good." More people came. Passers-by stopped to buy fried plantain. A taxi driver ordered pepper soup. Even the market women, who used to mock her, came to see the girl who opened a food place all by herself. By noon, all the food was gone. Sold out. Lily stood behind the counter, breathless. Timmy jumped up and down. We did it! We did it! Her mother, sitting in a chair near the entrance, clapped her hands softly. Adrian appeared with flowers in hand. "Congratulations," he said, handing them to her. Lily smiled, wiping sweat from her forehead. "I still can't believe this is real." "It is," he said, "and it's just the beginning." She looked at the line forming outside. It really was a beginning. But just as she turned to serve the next customer, someone walked up behind Adrian. Someone Lily recognized immediately. Olivia. This time, she wasn't alone. She was with her father, Mr. Grayson, a sharp-faced man in a dark suit who looked like he'd never smiled in his life. Adrian stiffened. "Why are you here?" he asked. Olivia smiled coldly. "To warn you. You made a huge mistake." Lily stepped forward. "This is my shop. If you're here to cause trouble, leave." Mr. Grayson stepped forward now, his voice quiet but full of power. "Adrian, we let you play your little games. But it's time to stop now. You're embarrassing our family." "I'm not part of your family," Adrian snapped. "And you have no power over me." "Oh, but we do," Mr. Grayson said. "We can ruin you. Your business. Your name. Everything." He turned to Lily. "You think this little shack makes you equal to us? You're nothing but a girl from the gutter." Lily's fist clenched. "I may be poor, but I have more heart than either of you. Gasps rippled through the crowd watching. Olivia's smile dropped. You don't know who you're talking to. Lily stepped closer. No, you don't know who I am. I'm Lily. I survived things you can't imagine. I worked for every grain of rice. And this, she pointed at the shop, is mine. You can't take that from me. Mr. Grayson scoffed. We'll see. He turned, motioned for Olivia to follow, and they walked away, but not before Olivia turned back and whispered, Enjoy your little shop. It won't be here long. Lily's heart thundered. Adrian stood by her side. We'll fight them. Whatever they try, I promise, we'll stand together. She nodded, trying to stay strong. But deep inside, she had a feeling. Something bigger was coming. And that something came the next morning in the form of a letter from the city council. A complaint had been filed. Lily's kitchen was being shut down for violating public health codes. Her dream was being destroyed, one signature at a time. Lily stood frozen outside her shop, the letter trembling in her hand. Her eyes scanned the harsh, printed words over and over again. You are hereby ordered to cease operations immediately due to violations of municipal food safety and zoning regulations. Beneath the notice in small letters was a list of vague violations: improper licensing, lack of inspection, structural concerns. All lies. Lily's heart thudded painfully in her chest. Around her, curious neighbors had already begun gathering. What's going on? Why are they closing the shop? She just opened yesterday. Timmy stood by her side, confused. What does the letter mean, Lily? She crouched down and hugged him tightly. It means we have to fight harder. Adrian's car pulled up moments later. As soon as he stepped out, people started pointing at him, whispering. He rushed over. Lily, what happened? She silently handed him the letter. He read it once, then again, his jaw tightening with each word. This is nonsense. There's no way these violations are real. I made sure everything was properly licensed. This is sabotage. We both know who did this, Lily said, her voice flat. Olivia, he growled, and her father. Adrian looked at the council stamp on the notice. This was rushed. Somebody high up pushed this through, but we can fight it. Lily looked at her shop, her tiny, bright shop, still smelling of pepper soup and dreams. And if we lose? She asked. Adrian touched her shoulder. Then we rebuild. But I'm not letting them win without a fight. Within hours, Adrian's legal team was in motion. They filed an appeal against the shutdown, demanding proof of the so-called violations. They also contacted a news reporter Adrian trusted, a woman named Gina, who loved covering stories of injustice. By that evening, Lily's story was all over local social media. Poor girl shop shut down by powerful family. A millionaire stand with her. The article included a picture of Lily standing beside her shop and a snapshot of the shutdown notice. Comments began pouring in. This is unfair. Let the girl work. So now poor people can't even dream? She cooked for me. Her food was clean and amazing. The next day, the shop was still shut, but Lily's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters wanted interviews. Influencers posted her story. Supporters began stopping by the shop, leaving notes of encouragement on the door. One man even handed Lily an envelope. From our community, we all pitched in. Inside was 50,000 Nigerian nairas in small notes. Lily's hand shook. Adrian came up behind her. I told you, people will see your light. But that light still had enemies. Later that day, Gina the reporter called Adrian. I have news, she said. The shutdown order? It came directly from Councilman James Grayson. Adrian's eyes narrowed. Olivia's father. Yes, but that's not all. I found a recording. One of his assistants leaked it to me. The audio played. It was Mr. Grayson's voice. I want that girl gone. Make it look legal. I don't care how. Adrian's blood ran cold. Send it to me, he said. He rushed to Lily and played the audio. Her jaw dropped. He admitted it? Adrian nodded. And now we have proof. By that evening, Gina released a story with the recording attached. It went viral. TV stations picked it up. Corruption exposed. politician abuses power to destroy young woman's business. Public outrage exploded. People marched to the council office, demanding justice. Hashtags began trending. Hashtag stand with Lily. Hashtag let her cook. Hashtag Grayson exposed. Mr. Grayson tried to deny it, but the damage was done. The audio was too clear. The city council had no choice but to reverse the shutdown. An official came to Lily's shop in person and removed the notice. On behalf of the council, we apologize. Your shop is legally allowed to operate. Cheers erupted from the gathered crowd. Lily cried as she turned the key and opened the door again. But just when she thought the worst was over, Adrian got a phone call. His face went pale as he listened. He hung up and looked at Lily. "What is it?" she asked. "My father," he said quietly. "He saw the news. He's furious." Lily tilted her head. So he's cutting me off." Lily gasped. "Cutting you off how?" Adrian ran a hand through his hair. "Everything. My inheritance. My accounts. Even the company. He says I've embarrassed the family beyond forgiveness. That I've chosen a poor girl over the Grayson name." Lily stared at him, speechless. He smiled gently. "So I guess we're both poor now." She felt her heart twist. "I'm so sorry this is all because of me." "No," he said, stepping closer. "This is because of them. Because they think money gives them the right to control lives. But you know what? I feel lighter now. I've been trapped in that world my whole life. Maybe losing it is the best thing that could have happened to me." He looked at her with the softest eyes. "I don't regret choosing you." Tears filled Lily's eyes. "But what will you do? Where will you stay?" He shrugged. "I'll figure out. I'm not afraid. Not anymore." She reached out and held his hand tightly. "We'll figure out together." But even as she spoke those words, a sleek black car rolled up outside the shop. The back door opened, and Adrian's father stepped out. He walked forward with the power of a man used to owning everything he saw. He stopped at the entrance of Lily's kitchen, and without greeting, he said, "Adrian, you have one last chance. Leave this place. Walk away from this girl. If you do, I'll restore everything you've lost." Adrian didn't blink. "And if I don't?" Mr. Morgan's voice turned cold. "Then I'll make sure you lose even more. You think I've shown my full power?" Lily stepped forward, fire in her chest. "He's not scared of you, and neither am I." Mr. Morgan smiled slightly. "You should be." He handed Adrian an envelope. "In there is the deed to your childhood home, the account your mother left, and control of the family trust. All of it will be yours again if you walk away now." Adrian opened the envelope, stared at the documents. Everything he'd lost. Everything that could be his again. He looked at Lily, then back at his father, and he said, "Give me a pen." Lily's heart stopped. Was he about to sign it? Was he going to leave her? But what Adrian did next shocked everyone. Adrian took the pen from his father's outstretched hand. He held it for a second, as though weighing the entire world in his palm. Lily's breath caught in her throat. Her heart pounded so loud she could barely hear anything else. She stared at him, her mind screaming, "Don't choose the money! Don't choose the money!" Adrian opened the envelope and pulled out the documents. Everyone watched Mr. Morgan, the bystanders, the news crew that had arrived to cover the reopening of Lily's kitchen. And then he tore the papers in half, slowly, deliberately, and then again, and again, until the documents were nothing but scraps of paper fluttering to the ground. Gasps filled the air. Mr. Morgan's face turned red with rage. "Do you know what you've just done?" "Yes," Adrian said calmly. "I've freed myself." Lily stared, stunned. "You really tore it all up?" Adrian turned to her with a soft smile. "You once stood up for yourself when the whole world called you nothing. That gave me the strength to do the same. I don't need a mansion to know my worth." "I don't need your money," he said, facing his father. "Not anymore." Mr. Morgan's lips curled. "You'll come crawling back. You're weak without us." Adrian stepped forward, his tone ice. "I built that company for 10 years while you traveled the world. I was the one who kept things running. You're going to find out just how strong I am when I'm not working under your shadow." Mr. Morgan opened his mouth to reply, but for once, he had nothing to say. He turned on his heel and walked away. The black car roared off down the street. And just like that, Adrian Morgan, the man born into wealth, became one of them. Lily didn't know what to say. She walked over slowly, placing a hand on his shoulder. You really chose me over all of that?" He looked at her, eyes gentle. "No, I chose us. I chose a life where I can look at myself in the mirror and be proud of the man I see." And then he did something that made everyone gasp again. Adrian knelt down, right there, in front of her shop. He pulled a small box from his jacket pocket. Lily's hand flew to her mouth. He opened it slowly. Inside was a ring. Nothing flashy, just a simple gold band with a tiny heart-shaped stone. "I'm not asking for forever right now," Adrian said, his voice soft. "I'm asking for a chance to keep standing beside you. Will you be my partner? In life, in business, in everything?" Tears rolled down Lily's cheeks. She covered her mouth with her hand. "Yes," she whispered. 1,000 times yes. The crowd erupted in cheers. Timmy jumped up and down. Her mother wiped tears from her eyes from the doorway. Even the market women who once mocked her were clapping now. Adrian stood up and slipped the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. From the street, someone shouted, "Speech! Speech!" Lily looked around, overwhelmed. She never imagined she'd be the center of anything, let alone love, respect, and a community cheering her on. She took a deep breath. "My name is Lily," she said. "I used to think my life was too small for anything big. But I've learned that strength doesn't come from money. It comes from struggle, from love, from standing up when life tries to push you down." The crowd clapped. I was called poor, stupid, dirty. But today, I own something that's mine. And I'm going to keep growing it. I don't care how hard it gets. Because I'm not just doing this for me. I'm doing this for every little girl who's told she's not good enough. Every boy who goes to bed hungry. Every mother who sacrifices everything for her children. She looked at Adrian. And for people who dare to choose kindness over power. The applause was thunderous. That night, Lily's kitchen stayed open late. People kept coming, buying food, dropping gifts, offering help. The tiny shop became a beacon. But later, after the celebration quieted, and Lily was cleaning the tables with Timmy and Adrian, something strange happened. A woman in a long blue dress stepped quietly through the doorway. She looked familiar. Lily turned, puzzled. "Can I help you?" The woman smiled gently. "I just came to say thank you." "For what?" "For giving my son a reason to walk away from a broken life." Adrian turned quickly. "Mother?" The woman nodded. "I've been watching from afar," she said. "I left years ago when I couldn't take the pressure of that family anymore. But I saw the news. I saw you. And I saw her." She stepped closer to Lily. "You've given my son more courage than I ever could. I just wanted to meet you and say you have my blessing." Lily was speechless. Adrian's eyes welled up. "I thought I lost you." His mother hugged him. "You didn't. I just need to find my way back." Lily watched them, her heart warm. It felt like pieces of a broken story were slowly being put back together. But even as joy filled the room, something was brewing in the shadows. Far across town, inside a dark office, Olivia Grayson sat at a polished desk. Her eyes narrowed on her phone screen. She watched the video of Adrian kneeling, Lily's speech, the cheering crowd. Her fingers tightened around a wine glass. "You think this is over?" she whispered. "You embarrassed me. You made me look weak." She opened a drawer and pulled out a folder marked with Lily's name. Inside were photos, documents, phone numbers, addresses. She smiled darkly. "If I can't break your heart, Lily," she muttered, "I'll break your spirit." And she dialed a number. "Hello? I have a job for you. I want everything on that girl. Her past, her secrets, anything we can use. And I want it yesterday." She hung up, eyes blazing. And so, just as Lily thought her life was beginning to bloom, the storm was quietly gathering again. The next few days were filled with laughter, warm food, and the smell of dreams cooking. Lily's kitchen became more than just a place to eat. It became a community. People from all walks of life came by, not just to buy food, but to hear the story of the poor girl who dared to fight back. Children from the neighborhood came after school for free snacks. Mothers stopped by to share recipes. Taxi drivers started calling her Chef Lily. Even a local newspaper did a full feature on her, titled, "From Dust to Destiny, the Girl Who Stirred Hope into Every Pot." Inside the kitchen, Lily taught Timmy how to roll dough for meat pies. Adrian helped wash dishes. Her mother sat by the window, healthy again, always smiling with pride. Everything seemed perfect until the letters started arriving. At first, they were small. A few pages left at the door. Unmarked envelopes. Lily thought maybe they were fan mail or well wishes, but they weren't. The first letter was typed in bold red letters. "You don't deserve this life. Go back to the gutter where you came from." The second one came the next day. "Do you think the world forgot where you're from? One mistake, and it all comes crashing down." Lily's hands shook as she read it. Adrian took the letters and told her not to worry. "Someone's trying to scare you. We'll set up cameras. No one will harm you." But the next letter changed everything. "Timmy's school is nice. Would be a shame if something happened to your brother." Lily froze. She grabbed the letter, her eyes scanning the words again and again. Her heart dropped to her stomach. She ran outside where Timmy was playing with a tire in the yard. "Timmy!" Inside. "Now!" He looked up, surprised. "But I just started." "Now!" Adrian came running. "What is it?" Lily showed him the letter. Adrian read it once, then immediately called a security friend. "We're locking everything down. No chances." From that moment on, everything changed. A guard was hired to watch the shop. Timmy was picked up and dropped off at school with a trusted driver. Adrian moved into a nearby apartment to be closer. Lily tried to stay calm, but inside, her stomach was a twisted knot. Who would threaten a child? The answer came one evening when Gina, the reporter, paid a surprise visit. "I found something," she said. She placed a file on the table. "Background check on Olivia Grayson. You said she might be behind this." Lily nodded. "Yes." Gina opened the folder. Inside were emails, call logs, and surveillance footage. One image made Lily's blood run cold. It was Olivia, standing outside a private investigator's office. "She hired a team to dig into your past," Gina said, "and they've been following you for 2 weeks." Adrian leaned over. "Why? What is she looking for?" "She's trying to destroy your image," Gina said. "But more than that, she's looking for leverage." Lily swallowed hard. "What kind of leverage?" Gina hesitated, then pulled out one last paper. "This." Lily took it and read the heading. "Birth certificate, Lily Thompson." Underneath, it were names she didn't recognize. Adrian read over her shoulder. "These aren't your parents?" Lily's hands trembled. "No," she whispered. "These names, I've never seen them." Her mother was resting in the back room, so Lily went straight to her. "Mama," she said, gently shaking her awake, "I need to ask you something. Please don't lie." Her mother sat up slowly. "What is it, baby? Are you my real mother?" The old woman froze. Silence filled the room. After a long pause, she nodded slowly. "No." Lily's world spun. "Then who am I?" Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "I found you as a baby. You were wrapped in cloth, left by the riverside. I was going to the stream when I heard your cry. I couldn't leave you. I had just lost my newborn, so I took you home." Lily sat down, shaking. "So, I don't know where I come from." The woman shook her head. "I raised you like my own. I never told you because I didn't want you to feel different. I loved you, Lily, more than anything." Lily hugged her, crying into her shoulder. "You are my mother, no matter what." But now everything was different. Who were her real parents? Why had they abandoned her? And how did Olivia know all of this? Adrian was just as shaken. "She's not just trying to scare you now. She's digging into your identity. She wants to destroy your sense of self." Lily stood up, wiping her tears. Then we won't let her. Gina nodded. I'll keep digging. I'll find out why she's going this far. But Olivia was already a step ahead. The next morning, Lily's kitchen was hit with a swarm of reporters. Not for a good reason. Breaking. Lily Thompson lied about her life. Secret rich family? Criminal records? Mystery past. A blogger had posted a story filled with twisted lies and half-truths. Photos of Lily as a child with no family. Claimed she had been pretending to be poor to gain sympathy. People started whispering again. Was this whole story fake? Maybe she tricked Adrian. Customers stopped coming. Food went untouched. The shop became quiet. Lily sat at the counter, her hands folded, staring at the empty street outside. Adrian placed a hand on her back. Don't give up. Lily shook her head. They're winning. She's turning the world against me. Adrian leaned closer. Then we change the story. We tell the truth. She looked at him, eyes wide. How? Let's go public. Tell your full story. No secrets. No shame. The world loves truth, and they'll love your truth. That night, Gina recorded a full interview. Lily sat in front of the camera and told everything. From the day she was found as a baby, to her life in poverty, her mother's illness, the bra strap incident, and how Adrian found her. She spoke slowly, honestly. I don't know where I come from, she said, but I know who I am. I am a fighter. I am a dreamer. And I am not afraid of people who try to tear me down. The interview went live, and by morning, it had over 2 million views. The comments poured in. We love you, Lily. You are more than your past. Realest story I've ever heard. Forget Olivia. Lily is the queen. But just as things began to turn around again, a letter was left at her doorstep. It had no name, no return address. Inside was a single photo, a black and white baby picture. On the back was a note. You don't know where you come from, but I do. Meet me tomorrow at midnight. Come alone, or the truth stays buried forever. Lily felt her knees go weak. This wasn't just Olivia anymore. Someone else was involved. And whoever they were, they knew everything. Lily stared at the photo in her hands, her breath coming in short, shaky gasps. The baby in the picture had round cheeks, a tiny tuft of hair, and wide, curious eyes. Her eyes. There was no mistaking it. It was her. A black and white memory of a life she didn't know she had lived. The note on the back sent a chill down her spine. You don't know where you come from, but I do. Meet me tomorrow at midnight. Come alone, or the truth stays buried forever. She read it again. And again. Midnight. Alone. This wasn't just another threat. It was a clue. A key. Whoever sent this knew about her past. Maybe even her real parents. Maybe they knew why she was abandoned. Why she was found at the riverbank all those years ago. Lily looked up at Adrian, her hands trembling. What do I do? He gently took the photo from her and read the note. We can't ignore this, he said. But there's no way I'm letting you go alone. But the note says... I don't care what it says, he cut in. It could be a trap. You're not facing this without backup. She hesitated. Adrian cupped her face gently. I'll stay close. Out of sight if I have to. But I'll be there. Always. Lily nodded slowly. That night passed in agonizing silence. Lily tried to sleep, but her mind kept racing. What if this person had all the answers? What if her real parents were alive? Or worse, what if they had abandoned her on purpose? Midnight came. She wore dark jeans and a hoodie, tying her hair up. She didn't want to be recognized. Adrian drove her in a quiet car, parking 2 blocks away from the meeting spot written on the envelope, an old, abandoned church at the edge of the city. The moon cast eerie shadows across the cracked pavement. The building looked like something from a ghost story, broken windows, rotting wood, and silence that fell heavy. Lily stepped out slowly. Adrian touched her hand. 3 taps on your watch, he whispered, and I come running, no matter what. She nodded and walked toward the church. The door creaked open when she pushed it. The inside smelled like dust and old secrets. Moonlight filtered through broken glass, casting patterns on the dusty floor. And then she saw him, a man sitting in the front pew, back turned, shoulders hunched. "Lily," he said, without looking at her. Her heart skipped. "Who are you?" He turned, and Lily's blood ran cold, because the man looked just like her. Same eyes, same nose, same lips. "I'm your brother," he said softly. Lily stumbled back, her hand flying to her mouth. My what?" He stood up slowly. "Half-brother, technically. My name is Marcus." She couldn't speak. Marcus stepped forward, holding up a worn envelope. "I've been looking for you for years. Our father, he never told me about you until he was dying. He said he made a mistake. A big one." Lily's head spun. "Who was he?" Marcus opened the envelope and handed her a photo. A man in a military uniform, standing beside a smiling woman, holding a baby. "This is our father," Marcus said. His name was Colonel Thomas Shaw. He had a short, hidden affair with a village woman during a deployment. When she got pregnant, he panicked. She was poor, unknown, and he was engaged to a senator's daughter. So he paid someone to take care of it. Lily's voice cracked. "You mean get rid of me?" Marcus nodded slowly. "But the woman refused. She ran away with you, gave birth alone. She died during childbirth. You were left at the riverside. The man who was supposed to take you in panicked and disappeared. That's when your adopted mother found you." Tears ran down Lily's cheeks. "All this time, and no one came for me?" "Our father didn't even tell me until his last days," Marcus said. "He cried when he told me. Said he wanted to fix his mistake, but ran out of time. I've been searching since." "Why now?" Lily asked. "Because someone else found out," he said. "A woman named Olivia Grayson. Her father served with our dad. She found the truth in some old files, and now she's trying to bury it." Lily's breath caught. "Why?" "Because if you're proven to be Thomas Shaw's daughter, you inherit part of his estate, and more importantly, his honor, his medals, his land. And it turns out Olivia's family wanted that land for years. They were hoping to claim it after your father's death." Lily's hand shook. "So all of this, the threats, the shutdown, the letters, it wasn't just because I loved Adrian. It was because I'm a threat." Marcus nodded. "A big one." Suddenly, the sound of glass shattering echoed from outside. Adrian's voice yelled, "Lily, run!" Marcus grabbed her arm. "Come on." But it was too late. Men in black rushed into the church. Two grabbed Lily. One pinned Marcus against a pillar. Adrian burst through the door, throwing a punch and tackling one of them. Chaos erupted. Lily screamed as she was dragged toward the door. Adrian shouted, "Let her go!" Then, a gunshot. The sound tore through the night like a scream. Everything stopped. Lily turned her head, breath frozen. Marcus was on the ground. Blood pooled beneath him. Lily screamed, "No!" Adrian tackled the man with the gun as police sirens wailed in the distance, drawn by an emergency signal he had activated moments earlier. The attackers scattered, jumping into a black SUV and vanishing into the night. Lily dropped beside Marcus, sobbing, "Don't die. Please don't die." His hand reached up, shaking. He pressed a small flash drive into her hand. "Everything you need is in here," he whispered. Then his hand went limp. Paramedics arrived too late. Marcus was gone. Lily was rushed home, her hand stained with his blood, her mind a storm of pain and confusion. Adrian sat beside her as she held the flash drive tightly. "He died because of me," she whispered. "No," Adrian said softly. "He died for you, so you could finish what he started." The next morning, Gina helped access the flash drive. Inside were legal documents, personal letters, and a sign from Colonel Thomas Shaw, clearly naming Lily as his daughter. It was undeniable proof. But Olivia wouldn't stop. Not now. Because if Lily went public with that flash drive, it would destroy the Grayson legacy, which meant the next move would be Olivia's most dangerous yet. Lily sat in the quiet of her shop storeroom, the flash drive clutched tightly in her hands. The weight of it was unbearable. It was more than just a tiny piece of metal. It held the truth. Proof of her bloodline. Proof of betrayal. Proof that someone had died to protect her right to know who she truly was. Adrian paced nearby, talking to Gina on the phone. She needs protection, Gina. Police protection. Her brother was murdered last night. Lily didn't even flinch. She was numb. The images of Marcus, his blood, his last breath, the sadness in his eyes, played over and over her mind like a broken film reel. Adrian hung up and walked over. Gina's arranging a press conference. The story is going public tonight. We're not hiding anymore. Lily looked up at him, her voice hollow. What if they kill us too? They won't, he said firmly, because we're not alone. People are with us. The truth is with us. She nodded slowly. Adrian reached out and gently took the flash drive from her hand. I'll make copies, just in case. She grabbed his wrist. No matter what happens, don't stop fighting. Promise me. He crouched down to her level, not even if the world burns. That night, the world indeed began to burn. Gina's news station aired a full expose. Secret daughter of war hero revealed. Olivia Grayson accused of conspiracy and cover-up. The news anchor spoke clearly and confidently. Tonight, we bring you the story of Lily Thompson, the long-lost daughter of Colonel Thomas Shaw, abandoned at birth due to military scandal. Lily's identity was hidden for over 2 decades. Our investigation uncovered shocking attempts to silence her, including attempted kidnapping, blackmail, and even murder. One man, Marcus Shaw, Colonel Shaw's legitimate son, lost his life trying to protect her. At the center of the cover-up, Olivia Grayson, daughter of Councilman James Grayson. Sources suggest she used political influence to manipulate city systems, sabotage Lily's business, and hide the truth. Then they showed the documents. The signed will, the birth certificate, the letters from Colonel Shaw, and finally, a picture of Marcus, smiling, beside a caption that read, "He died fighting for truth." The response was instant. The internet exploded. Hashtag Justice for Lily. Hashtag Grayson Corruption. Hashtag Who is Olivia Really? Crowds formed outside the Grayson estate. Protesters held signs. You try to bury the truth. Lily's life matters. Power doesn't erase blood. By morning, police confirmed that warrants had been issued. Councilman James Grayson was being investigated for abuse of power. But Olivia? She was missing. No one knew where she had gone. Not until Lily received the final letter. It came by hand. No envelope. No stamp. Just her name on the front, written in red marker. Inside, the message was short. You won. But if I'm going down, I'm taking something from you too. Lily's heart dropped. She ran out of the shop. Timmy, he wasn't there. She ran to her mother's room. Empty. Mama? She raced to Adrian. They're gone. Adrian didn't hesitate. We're calling everyone. Now. In minutes, the shop was filled with officers, neighbors, and Gina's camera crew. Lily handed them the note. Adrian contacted every hospital, school, and checkpoint in the city. But there was no trace. Hours passed. And then, a voice message came through Lily's phone. She opened it with shaking hands. It was Olivia. Calm. Cold. You wanted the truth, Lily. Here's one more truth for you. You thought I'd lose? You thought exposing me would break me? No, it made me desperate. And desperate people don't follow rules. You took my reputation. I took something irreplaceable. Lily screamed. Adrian grabbed her. We'll find them. I swear it. And then a second message. This time, a photo. Timmy, blindfolded, sitting on a mattress in a dim room. Their mother lying beside him, unconscious. A final message followed. Meet me at the Grayson estate. Come alone. No police. No cameras. You have 1 hour. Lily dropped to her knees. Adrian knelt beside her. This is it. We end this. She looked up at him, her eyes burning with rage and fear. I'm going. I'm coming with you. She said alone. We'll do it smart, he said. You'll go in. I'll go around. They had 1 hour to save Timmy, to save her mother, to stop Olivia once and for all. And in that moment, Lily realized this wasn't just a fight for her family anymore. This was a fight for every person who had ever been crushed by people with power. This was a war, and she was ready to win. She stood up, fire in her chest. We end this tonight. Lily stood at the edge of the massive Grayson estate, her heart pounding against her ribs like a warning drum. The iron gates loomed in front of her, tall and cold, guarding secrets and sins like a fortress. Beyond them, the mansion stood proud and silent, the sky above it stained purple and blue with the last light of day. She was alone, just like Olivia wanted, or so it seemed. What Olivia didn't know was that Adrian had snuck in the back. Gina's hidden mic was sewn inside Lily's hoodie, and 2 plainclothes officers were parked across the street in a rusted delivery van, pretending to eat noodles but ready to call in backup. Lily pressed forward. The gates creaked open on their own. No guards, no lights, just silence. She stepped through, past the fountain with the stone lion heads, past the rose bushes that had withered from neglect. Her hand was shaking, but her eyes burned with purpose. At the grand front door, it opened before she could knock, and there stood Olivia, wearing a long black dress, hair slicked back like a queen at a funeral. "Come in," she said coldly. Lily walked inside slowly. "Where are they?" Olivia smirked. "You'll see them when I'm done." The mansion chandeliers cast eerie shadows across the marble floors. The walls were lined with portraits of old, powerful men who looked like they never smiled a day in their lives. Olivia led her to the dining room, and there, at the far end of the room, were 2 chairs. Timmy sat on one. Her mother was slumped in the other, asleep or drugged. "Are they okay?" Lily demanded. "They're fine. For now," Olivia said, picking up a glass of wine. "Would you like some?" Lily didn't move. "I'm not here to play games." "Oh, but you've been playing games," Olivia said, pacing slowly. "You played poor. You played helpless. And now you're playing hero." "I never played anything," Lily snapped. "I survived. Something people like you will never understand." Olivia's eyes narrowed. "Don't preach to me. You stole everything." "I stole nothing. You stole Adrian. You stole my family's reputation. You even stole my future. I was supposed to marry into power, into legacy. And instead," Lily said, stepping forward, "you became a cautionary tale." That stung. Olivia's hand trembled slightly. She took another sip of wine. "You want them back?" she asked, motioning toward Timmy and her mother. "Then you'll do what I say." "What do you want?" "I want you to vanish," Olivia hissed. "Disappear. Leave the city. Go back to whatever gutter you crawled from. You take that flash drive, your name, your truth, and you bury it." Lily blinked. "You want me to give up my identity?" "Exactly," Olivia said. "Walk away and I let them go. Refuse, and we'll see how well Timmy swims in that fancy backyard pond." Lily's eyes burned. But then, from the back hallway, a voice echoed, "You're done, Olivia." Adrian, flanked by 2 armed officers, and Gina, holding a camera. Lights on. Mic hot. The live stream was rolling. Olivia froze. Her eyes darted around the room. "What is this?" "It's over," Adrian said, walking toward Lily. "You're on camera, and you just confessed. To kidnapping, to blackmail, to threats, to everything." "No, no, no." Olivia backed up, but the officers stepped forward. "You are under arrest," one said. "Hands where we can see them." "I am a Grayson," she screamed. "You can't touch me." "You're a criminal," the officer replied, "and the law doesn't care about your last name anymore." As they cuffed her, Timmy burst into tears and ran into Lily's arms. "Mama's waking up," he said. Lily ran to her mother, who blinked slowly and whispered, "Is it over?" Lily nodded, tears running down her face. "Yes, Mama, it's finally over." The live stream of Olivia's arrest spread like wildfire. By sunrise, every news channel was replaying the clip. "Olivia Grayson arrested for kidnapping and blackmail. Heroic girl brings down corrupt family." Social media was on fire. Hashtag Lily won. Hashtag truth over power. Hashtag justice served. Even the president of the local women's council posted, Lily is a reminder to every girl out there, your voice matters. Your truth matters. Don't let anyone silence you. The Grayson family empire crumbled within days. Their properties were seized for investigation. Councilman Grayson resigned in disgrace. And Lily? Lily became a national symbol of strength. Offers came in book deals, documentaries, speaking events. But Lily didn't want the spotlight. She wanted peace. So she took her mother and Timmy back to the shop. Lily's kitchen reopened under a new name, Lily and Family. Bigger, brighter. A community kitchen where anyone in need could eat for free every Sunday. Adrian, now running his own ethical business consultancy, worked from a small office above the shop. He and Lily built not just a life, but a purpose. 1 year later, on a quiet Sunday morning, the sun lit up the kitchen's painted walls. Lily flipped a pancake, laughing as Timmy spilled flour everywhere. Her mother peeled potatoes while humming. Adrian walked in, wrapped his arms around her from behind, and whispered, "You saved everyone, you know that?" Lily smiled. "No, we did." He kissed her cheek. "Happy anniversary, Chef Lily." She turned to face him. "You know, it all started with a car window." Adrian chuckled. "Best view I ever had." They laughed together, not as a poor girl and a millionaire, but as equals, as survivors, as family. And somewhere deep in Lily's heart, a voice whispered, "You are not where you come from. You are who you choose to become."